The Darth Vader comics recently did a whole arc about Vader going to Exegol. I did a video about everything he finds there already, but the important takeaway that I'll be discussing today is the fact that he sees the fleet of Star Destroyers being built. He knows some of the Emperor's plans for the galaxy and decides there's no point in going against his master, for now anyway. But that revelation has led people to ask the question, why didn't he tell Luke about Exegol if he knew? My response is, who's to say he didn't tell Luke? Why are we assuming he didn't? I think it's very likely Anakin mentioned the planet to his son as a Force ghost. We know Luke was searching for the planet, and The Rise of Skywalker does make it sound like he learned about it from the sacred Jedi texts, but maybe it was Anakin that first sent him on that search, and maybe it was Anakin who pointed Luke towards Ochi of Bestoon, because the comics show us that he and Vader were familiar with each other. They were enemies at first, but Ochi came around to serve Vader. If Anakin didn't have a good lead on a Wayfinder, sending Luke after Ochi makes sense. But then the trail went cold. Years and then decades went by, and no fleets ever appeared. Luke probably figured the danger had passed and that the Emperor was gone for good, because I don't think Vader sees any evidence of his master attempting to cheat death on Exegol. So Luke likely decided it was time for him to focus on rebuilding his new Jedi Order. That's basically my headcanon for now. But I also don't think Anakin had to tell Luke, and I don't think it's that big of a problem if he didn't, because you can't really look at Force ghosts and how they work too much. They're basically omnipotent, they exist outside of time, and we've seen multiple stories about how Force ghosts perceive it. Obi-Wan experiences basically his whole life in a flash when he becomes one with the Force, and he sees things that haven't yet taken place. That's all from the short story Time of Death by Cavan Scott in the book From a Certain Point of View. And the Qui-Gon story in that same book, Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, mentions similar experiences. So in theory, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin all knew about Exegol and what's going to happen. Anakin would have known about Exegol whether or not he saw it while he was alive. That comic changes nothing. So the question becomes, why didn't any Force Ghost warn Luke about Exegol? Or why doesn't any Force Ghost warn anyone about every major problem? When you start to really think about all that stuff, you'll get stuck in one of those cycles that'll give you a headache and a nosebleed. Force Ghosts can see the future. They know what will happen, but that doesn't mean they can change the future. They don't step in unless they know they're supposed to, if that makes sense. They come in to offer guidance when they know it's needed, when the cosmic force knows it's necessary. I see them kind of like the wizards of Middle-earth. Gandalf is there to guide the people of Middle-earth and offer assistance, but ultimately they have to be the ones to embrace their destinies and come together to fight evil. Force ghosts are powerful, but the stories of Star Wars would start to get pretty boring if they just swooped in to solve every little problem that popped up. It's just one of those fantasy or mythology tropes that I can pretty easily accept. The only reason I've seen for Force ghosts not constantly stepping in to help out is from that Claudia Gray story again. Qui-Gon hears Obi-Wan calling for him and basically has to pull himself out of Force heaven, a state of pure peace and bliss so that he can go to Tatooine and offer some advice. It's straight up described as painful to separate one's consciousness from the Force to go back to the physical world. I got off track a bit there, but while I think Anakin may have told Luke and Exegol and sent him on the right track, the initial question of why Anakin didn't tell Luke is really a larger question about why Force ghosts don't show up to help out more often. Hopefully what I said makes sense. Anytime you start talking about non-linear time, it gets very tricky and confusing. But that's it from me for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.